You ever seen a man worth billions crumble like a child on live television? I did that, not out of spite, but because he thought money could buy me. I'm not a price tag, I'm a person. And this is the story of how I walked away and made him weep. Before we dive in, hit that like, subscribe, and share if you're tired of people thinking your worth is measured in dollars. This story isn't just about me, it's about us. Every woman who's ever been underestimated, tested, or tried. Let's get into it. My name's not important, not right now. What matters is that I'm a black woman in my mid-30s who's lived enough to know what I want, and more importantly, what I won't settle for. I grew up in a modest but loving home, the kind where your mum teaches you how to speak with your eyes, and your grandma teaches you how to pray with your hands. I earned every piece of paper on my wall, degrees, certifications, letters behind my name. Not because I wanted to prove anything to anyone, but because I believe knowledge is a kind of freedom. I've always been the woman who walked into rooms knowing she belonged there, even when no one else thought so. I've worked hard, built my career, and protected my peace like my life depended on it. Because sometimes it does. Before all this, before him, my life was stable. Not flashy, not loud, but full. I had friends who kept it real, family who kept me grounded, and a heart that knew the difference between being loved and being bought. I wasn't looking for a man, let alone a billionaire. But life has a funny way of tossing surprises at you. I didn't know meeting him would turn my whole world upside down, but not the way you'd expect. We met in a room I almost didn't walk into. It was one of those sleek, high-rise networking events filled with polished smiles and elevator pitches disguised as small talk. I was there to speak on a panel about leadership and authenticity in business, nothing out of the ordinary. I didn't even notice him at first. I was sipping my ginger ale, mentally running through my talking points when he approached me. No introduction, just a bold, "You don't look impressed." I wasn't, and he wasn't used to that. He had that smooth confidence, tailored suit, subtle cologne, the kind of presence that fills a room before he even says a word. People whispered when he walked by. That's when I realized who he was. One of those names, the kind you see on the covers of business magazines and Forbes lists. But to me, he was just another man leading with his wallet instead of his words. Still, I was curious. Not about his money, but about what kind of man thinks that's enough. He asked for coffee. I said no. He smiled like it was a challenge. I didn't know it then, but that moment would be the start of something complicated. He didn't take no the way most men do. Where others might have backed off or gotten defensive, he got curious. Every few days there'd be something: flowers to my office, invitations to private dinners, handwritten notes slipped into my inbox like secrets. Always tasteful, never pushy. But it was clear he was trying to buy my attention. And I wasn't having it. I'm not the kind of woman you impress with shiny things. I don't care about yachts or penthouses, or the fact that your name carries weight in boardrooms I'll never walk into. I care about conversation that doesn't feel rehearsed, about laughter that isn't filtered through ego. Still, he kept showing up. Not just with gifts, but with questions. Deep ones. Like he wanted to figure me out. Sometimes we'd talk on the phone late into the night about everything and nothing. Family, failure, legacy, fear. For a moment, I let my guard slip. I thought, maybe he's different. But then, like clockwork, he'd send something extravagant the next morning. Jewelry I didn't want, a car I didn't need. He couldn't understand that I was already whole. And that's what shook him. I wasn't a prize to win. I was a person he couldn't control. The night he told me he loved me, I didn't feel butterflies. I felt pressure. We were on a rooftop, yes, cliché, and the city lights stretched out like a never-ending stage below us. He looked at me, eyes softer than I'd ever seen them, and said it straight. "I'm in love with you." I didn't respond right away. Not because I didn't feel something, but because I wasn't sure what I felt. See, Love to me isn't a grand gesture or the perfect view. It's being seen, understood, chosen, not for what you represent, but for who you are when no one's watching. He mistook silence for shock, maybe even acceptance. But I had to be honest. I told him love, real love, doesn't come with a receipt, and I wasn't convinced he saw me, beyond the mystery, beyond the challenge. That moment cracked something in him. I saw it, the panic, the confusion, the disbelief, like someone had just told him gravity was optional. He was used to people bending, adjusting, saying yes. And here I was, still holding my ground. I wasn't trying to hurt him. I was trying to save myself. But from that point on, something in him changed, and not for the better. It all unraveled on live television. He'd invited me to be part of a panel on modern love and power, some carefully curated media appearance he was headlining. I had no clue what he had planned. I thought we were just there to talk, maybe debate a little. But midway through the segment, as the cameras rolled and the audience watched in quiet curiosity, he pulled out a velvet box. I froze. He started speaking directly to me, his voice steady but rehearsed. Talked about how I'd changed his life, how he'd never met a woman like me, how he finally understood what love was. Then he opened the box, diamond ring the size of a small planet, and said those words, "Marry me." I blinked. Once. Twice. The studio was dead silent. I knew then what he was doing. This wasn't love, it was performance. It wasn't about me, it was about winning. He thought if he said the right words, in the right setting, with the world watching, I'd melt. I didn't. I looked him in the eye and said, calm and clear, I can't. That's all. Not cruel, not cold, just honest. And he broke. Right there, on camera. His voice cracked, eyes welled. The mask fell. It wasn't just rejection. It was the realization that, for the first time in his life, money couldn't fix this. He tried to smile it off, tried to hold himself together, but the tears came anyway. Raw, real, and unplanned. People talk about power like it's a currency. But real power, it's knowing who you are, even when the world expects you to fold. That day, I didn't walk away with a ring. I walked away with something far more valuable, my self-respect. And he, for once, couldn't buy his way out of it. The fallout was instant and everywhere. Within hours, clips of the moment were flooding social media. Headlines screamed, "Billionaire rejected on live TV." And people couldn't stop watching. Some praised me for standing my ground, calling it iconic, brave, even revolutionary. Others, not so kind. There were comments questioning my sanity, asking why I'd turned down a man like that, as if wealth alone should have sealed the deal, as if I was supposed to be grateful to be chosen. I stayed quiet at first. I needed space, time, not to think, my decision was clear, but to breathe, to remind myself why I'd said no. It's easy to get swept up in opinions, especially when the internet decides you're either a queen or a villain. But I didn't owe the world an explanation. I owed myself peace. He tried to reach out a few times after. Messages, calls, even an assistant showing up with a handwritten letter. But I knew it wasn't about love. It was about control, about rewriting the ending. And I wasn't interested in being anyone's revision. Funny thing is, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt free, like I'd dodged something that looked like a dream but carried the weight of a cage. The moment that broke him on live TV didn't make me feel powerful. It just reminded me of what I never want again, to be someone's prize. You don't need to explain your boundaries to people who only see your surface. Let them talk, let them speculate. My silence wasn't weakness, it was clarity. The kind that comes when you've finally chosen yourself, even in front of the whole world, and no trending clip or flashy headline could ever compete with that feeling. Saying no to him wasn't about cruelty or stubbornness. It was about love, but not the kind of love he thought he could buy or command. Real love is patient, kind, and honest. It's the quiet moments, the unspoken understanding, the respect for each other's boundaries and dreams. I wanted that kind of love, something genuine, something that didn't come with a price tag or a headline. He never truly tried to know me beneath the surface. He saw me as a trophy, a challenge, a conquest. No matter how many times I told him I wasn't for sale, he kept trying to trade love for luxury. But I'm not an object to be won or owned. I'm a whole person with hopes, fears, and a heart that can't be bought. Choosing myself meant choosing the truth over the fantasy. I realized that no amount of money could fill the space where real connection belongs. I wanted to be loved for my soul, not my status or beauty. That's why I walked away, even when the world was watching. Because sometimes, the hardest yes is the one you say to yourself. Now, looking back, I see that moment not as rejection but as liberation. I freed myself from a story that wasn't mine to live. And in doing so, I made room for the kind of love I've always deserved, one built on honesty, respect, and mutual understanding. Love isn't something you can buy. It's something you have to earn. And sometimes, it means letting go. What I learned from all of this goes far beyond one man or one moment on live TV. It's a lesson about power, true power, and where it really lives. People often think power is about money, influence, or control. But real power, it's knowing who you are and never trading your values for anything, not even the world's most expensive promises. I learned that independence isn't just about paying your own bills or standing on your own 2 feet. It's about owning your voice, your choices, and your boundaries. It's about being able to say no without guilt and yes only when your heart fully agrees. That kind of strength doesn't come from a bank account. It comes from within. I also learned how fragile even the richest people can be when faced with something they can't buy or control. Money can open doors, but it can't open hearts. It can't force respect or create trust. Watching him break down reminded me that no amount of wealth can substitute for authenticity. Most of all, I learned that choosing yourself is the bravest thing you can do, because it means facing fear, uncertainty, and sometimes loneliness. But it also means stepping into a freedom that's worth more than any diamond ring or public spectacle. If there's one thing I want you to take away from my story, it's this: your worth is not for sale. Your love is not a transaction. Stand firm in your truth, protect your heart, and know that the greatest power you have is the power to choose yourself every single day. If you've ever felt pressured to say yes when your heart screamed no, or to accept less than you deserve because someone else's world looks shiny on the outside, this story is for you. Your love, your time, your energy, they are priceless. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise. Saying no doesn't make you cold or ungrateful. It makes you strong and clear about what you truly want. Remember, love is not something that can be bought or sold. It's built on respect, trust, and honesty. If someone tries to buy your affection or your loyalty, walk away. Stand tall in your truth. Protect your peace like it's the most precious thing you own, because it is. If my story speaks to you, if you've ever had to choose yourself over what seemed easier or more convenient, I want to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments. Like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Together, let's build a community that values real love, real respect, and real strength.